there are billions of different ways to learn a language. One of the best and one of the most obvious is, how can I form this language into daily entertainment? Like my movies, television shows, my games, etc. So, can you actually learn in a meaningful way a language through video games? I've already had my answer, hence why I'm making this video, but I'm going to just slowly be leaning you guys towards my answer. Um, which isn't as like yes or no, but more so like maybe. So, first of all, let's look at the most ideal circumstance. A game where you can, like, it's designed for you to learn the language. One of the games that I found online is called Linguotopia, and basically you're stranded on an island and you have to converse with the locals who would be in your target language about how am I supposed to get home? You're supposed to develop this language while you're also trying to figure out your way back home. It's a really cool idea, and I really like it. The only thing is what I've heard is it's very, very short and not a lot of meat in that game. What would be the coolest is to see an AI game. You know, there's like a vampire AI game that I've been exposed to, where basically it just auto generates text depending on what you say. It would be cool to see that in a city. Like, you go to a city, they speak your target language, and you can converse with them through some type of AI mechanism. So that's the ideal game. Let's look at all the different games, though, that we have. So first we got RPGs. And, you know, I don't think they'd be the best. If it's, like, heavily influenced by dialogue, which lots of them are, that's great. But if it's, like, one of those just grind for XP type of games, it's probably going to be pretty crappy, I will say. But, like, let's look at the most popular RPG, Pokemon. There's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of repetitive stuff. But there's also a lot of decent dialogue. You probably won't get a lot out of it as opposed to just, like, going on Duolingo or something for a few minutes. But it's fine. It's good exposure, if nothing else. But don't pretend like it's so great that's going to be taking up valuable vocabulary study or grammar study time. The next is action. Probably not. It's mostly just action. There's probably not a lot of dialogue, not a lot of exposure. So let's just move on. Same thing with fighting. I'm not sure how action and fighting differ, but yeah, same thing. Adventure games, you know, there could be a solid amount of dialogue. I'm mostly looking for dialogue, so I'll just go through that. Simulation games, that's probably the best you could do. Simulation games sounds a lot of fun and very helpful. Shooter, no. Sandbox games are very, very iffy. If it is a game where you could potentially write in their own language, study with people in the same language, like, I feel like a game like Rec Room, there's bound to be a game where it's like a hub just for people who want to learn the language to talk and study together. That could be a very useful thing. But if it's like a sandbox game like Terraria, where you're just going around and playing, probably not. Actually, I'm going to say definitely not. Puzzles are my favorite type of games, but not helpful. Sports, no. Racing, no. Survival, no. Survival horror, no. Strategy games. That'd probably be helpful, but the fact is that I feel like strategy games would be so annoying to have to, like, you don't know the full language, so you're kind of like, what does that word mean? I'm kind of stuck. So I'm going to just say no to strategy games. First-person shooter, how's that different from shooter? MMOs, no. And all these other games. So simulations is the one we're mainly looking at. Simulations and potentially sandbox. I think that if you can find the right resource for your language, like, again, find something like a Rec Room type of game where you could go around, totally expose yourself to that language, totally immerse yourself in the language, and that would be an awesome game. Or you can make your own. Like, maybe make a Minecraft game where you can have the NPCs saying stuff in your target languages. Now, obviously, that's not going to be helpful for just in the moment, but, like, if you research it, make the game, and then you could send it out to other people and replay it by yourself later on, that could probably be very, very helpful. But you kind of have to be more advanced in order to make the game. So that's not really an immediate solution while you're learning a language. But if you become really good at a language and you feel like, hey, I want to share this with people, you can definitely make a game like that and just totally help somebody. And then simulation, I'm thinking something like The Sims, Animal Crossing. There's a lot of dialogue while also being a lot of peace in that game. So, again, it's a really nice like type of meditate on language type of thing. Just try to enjoy yourself while also being kind of exposed. So, in conclusion, what I will say is that some games, there's really no language benefit. Puzzle games, no matter how awesome all puzzle games are, they're not the best. Shooter games, I don't see any dialogue in shooter games, unless there's a story mode alongside, but it's usually you go online and start shooting people. So yeah, what I will say is that if you can find a game that has a lot of dialogue that exposes you well, go for it. Enjoy your time. But what I will say is that it definitely does not replace any amount of dedicated study time. Sitting down with a textbook, going online to find a tutor, something like that. Video games probably aren't the best substitute. And I know that's kind of disappointing to hear, because when you click on this video, you're probably thinking, ooh, there might be a fun video game I could play to learn a language. There's a bunch of fun video games to solidify your language, but not to learn your language. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm briefly just cutting in right here just to say, if you have any differing opinions about this, leave them down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, and I'd love to do an update video in like the future, maybe in even like a year or so, just like coming back to this and revisiting it with knowing your guys' opinions while also experiencing more of my opinions. Oh wait, that's it. Bye.